In 1867, Kansas State University held its first commencement. 3 women and 2 men graduated that year. As the first land-grant university in the nation, this fledgling university had a vision of providing innovative education to all people. That early vision has continued through to the present. With over 250 majors and a diverse student body, including students from all 50 states and more than 100 countries. Becoming one of the nation's top 50 public research universities by 2025 is today's vision for tomorrow. With academic programs among the best in the nation and professors who are leaders in their fields, Kansas State University is an international leader in teaching, learning, service, and research. Today's graduates join over 200,000 alumni who are proud to call K-State their alma mater. Congratulations, and thank you to all those who have supported them through their undergraduate experience at Kansas State University.
Will you please rise for the singing of the national anthem by one of our graduating students in applied music, Ms. Grace Volker. You may be seated. Welcome to Spring 2019 commencement of the College of Arts and Sciences at Kansas State University. My name is Amit Chakraborty, and I'm the Dean of the college. This is a happy occasion to which we particularly welcome parents, spouses, relatives, and friends of our graduates. We are here this morning to honor these graduates and to celebrate with them their success in the completion of their rigorous programs. They follow the path of many who came before them and impacted our community here in Northeast Kansas. I would like to introduce the platform party and ask that each member of the party stand as their name is read and remain standing until all have been introduced. Dr. Charles Staber, Provost and Executive Vice President. Dr. Kimathi Choma, Assistant Dean for Diversity, Recruitment, and Retention. Amy Button-Rains, President and CEO of K-State Alumni Association. Dr. Louis Benjamin, Associate Dean of Academic Affairs. Dr. Allison Whitley, Assistant Dean of Students. Michelle Munson, CEO and co-founder of Alluvio. Grace Volker, graduating senior, Applied Music. Please join me in recognizing the platform party. You may be seated. We wish to recognize the leaders and representatives of all departments in the College of Arts and Sciences. Could each individual stand as their name is read and remain standing, and please hold your applause until all have been introduced. Aerospace Studies, Lieutenant Colonel Heath Duncan. American Ethnic Studies, Dr. Yolanda Broyles Gonzalez. Art, Professor Matthew Gaynor. Biochemistry and Molecular Biophysics, Dr. Michael Zolkiewski. Biology, Dr. Brian Spooner. Chemistry, Dr. Daniel Higgins. Communication Studies, Dr. Gregory Paul. Economics, Dr. Philip Gale. English, Dr. Corinne Westman. Gender, Women, and Sexuality Studies, Dr. Christy Lanius. Geography, Dr. Charles Martin. Geology, Dr. Pamela Kempton. History, Dr. Michael Crisco. Journalism and Mass Communications, Dr. Nikhil Moro. Mathematics, Dr. Andrew Bennett. Military Science, Lieutenant Colonel Peter Gray. Modern Languages, Dr. Derek Hillard. Music, Theater, and Dance, Dr. Jeff Ward. Philosophy, Dr. Bruce Gilmore. Physics, Dr. Brett DiPaula. Political Science, Dr. Sam Bell. Psychological Sciences, Dr. Michael Young. Sociology, Anthropology, and Social Work, Dr. Jared Middendorf. Statistics, Dr. Christopher Val. Please join me in recognizing the representatives of our academic departments. You may be seated. It's my pleasure now to introduce today's commencement speaker, Michelle Manson. Michelle is the co-founder and CEO of Aluvio, a software startup pioneering new technologies for a content-centric internet focused on scalability, content protection, and native commerce. Michelle previously founded East Bay software company Aspera in 2004 and led the company as CEO until May 2017, including through its acquisition by IBM in 2014. She created the Aspera FASP transport technology, an Emmy Award-winning technology used in the digital media supply chain for high-speed, low-cost, secure digital content transport, replacing satellite and traditional tape-based delivery technologies. In 2016, Michelle was named the IABM Woman Entrepreneur of the Year and TV News Check Woman of the Year, and she was named one of the most influential women in business by the San Francisco Business Times in 2017. Though she has lived her adult life in Berkeley, California, Michelle has strong roots in Kansas and Manhattan. Her family holds more than 20 degrees from Kansas State University. Charles Manson, Michelle's father, is a fifth-generation Kansas farmer, as well as College of Agriculture distinguished alumnus. Her mother, Dr. Deanna Manson, is a retired faculty member and holds 3 degrees from Kansas State. David Manson, Michelle's brother, graduated from the College of Agriculture. Ralph Manson, Michelle's grandfather, graduated from K-State Agricultural Economics, and her aunt, Virginia Moxley, is the former dean of human ecology. Michelle holds dual BS degrees in physics and electrical engineering from Kansas State University. She was a Goldwater Scholar for achievement in science and mathematics, and later she was a Fulbright Scholar at Cambridge University, where she received a postgraduate diploma in computer science. Please join me in welcoming Michelle Manson. Welcome. All yours.
Well, hello, Wildcats. Congratulations, class of 2019, for this life-defining achievement that we celebrate today. your graduation from this unique and extraordinary institution, Kansas State University. As I was thinking about what I could say to you today, I did what most of us do nowadays. I surfed the web for inspiration. In my trove of commencement speech videos, I watched the addresses of many famous people, such as Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, Jeff Bezos, and Oprah Winfrey. Now, while my career is not as extraordinary as the careers of these individuals, it is unusual in many respects. And it started right here, 23 years ago. And I've been fortunate to have spent those 23 years doing what I love, creating technology for disseminating digital content over the internet. I decided to borrow an approach from Steve Jobs, founder of Apple, and tell you a few stories about my life. All of these stories share a common thread that I will call life's GPS. This is the innate positioning system that runs from your subconscious, is propelled by love for something, and if allowed to do the driving, always knows where to go, and will fuel the drive through difficulties and failure in its quest to get there. The first story I'd like to tell is about the web and how I got into all of this. The most important day of my educational life occurred in May 1995 on this campus. I was seated in what was then the main Unix computing lab on the second floor of what was then Derland Hall, now Engineering Rathbone Hall. Dr. Shelley Sterrett, then a visionary young professor teaching my energy conversion course, had asked us to use something I had never used before, the World Wide Web, then served through a Netscape browser, to research and write a paper on a topic of our choice. As I surfed the web for the very first time, visiting one website that directly linked me to other sites with more information, I was electrified. I had always loved research projects, but was usually frustrated that I could not seem to get the information I was after fast enough or well enough. Now, though, with the web, here it was, a global mind, instantly available to me and without limitation. This is going to change everything, I thought. I realized in that moment that I had to advance this technology, invent in it. But even though I was a strong science and engineering student, I did not have the computing background necessary and had to reset my path. That moment was a life GPS moment. After that internet epiphany in May 1995, I let go job offers and graduate work in my fields of electrical engineering and physics, and instead decided to pursue my master's in computer science. So I took a year off and applied for a Fulbright to fund what was an exciting program at the University of Cambridge. In that gap year, another life GPS time that was actually very lonely but pivotal, I started an internet service provider in Junction City, Kansas. Remember those days of dial-up? I went on to Cambridge, where I began my first work in distributed computing systems. After completing my master's there, I was offered a PhD place and a spot in my professor's company, but I was anxious to get directly into internet innovation. And so I left the UK and took a position at a research lab in Silicon Valley. I packed up all of my belongings in my car and drove from Kansas to California. I knew only one person and had no housing, but I didn't care. I was living my dream. Only a year and a half later, that same inner GPS directed me to leave that comfortable job at the research lab and to take a job at my first software startup, a company run by a well-known professor from UC Berkeley, intent on using software networks to enable video streaming over the internet. This began a series of years in my late 20s that were both crushing and exhilarating. Working in professional software development for the first time at breakneck internet startup pace, I had to learn everything on the job. And the people I was working with were so good, some of the best in the world, that I vacillated between exhilaration and complete demoralization. The two startups I worked for during this time both imploded in the first internet downturn, and I was laid off not once, but twice. Despite the apparent business failure, however, it turned out that I had made some very smart choices. I had followed my interests in internet networking and had sought out the very best startups in the field and innovations that were close to research. I had worked hard to get into projects where I learned how to build software and where I worked long hours with the best people. One of those best people is now my husband, Shaban. If you focus, graduates, on what you love now, you will be able to take necessary risks that will ultimately prepare you far better than the safe path. You will also be able, at the right moment, to make the shift from learning to creating. This brings me to the second story I would like to share, the shift. The shift began in 2002. I was just turning 30 years old and had just come out of the second startup. I did not want to work for someone else's startup again, or go back and finish my PhD, nor could I imagine working for a traditional company. But I knew I loved innovating. And my interest had been primed by a common problem I had discovered in working with several media companies, transferring large media file data. This problem conveniently sat in the sweet spot of my interest in networking and systems, and I realized it was time to try to invent a solution and to start my own company. After some months of research, I did just that. That company became Aspera, and over the next 13 years, we created and brought to market a software technology capable of high-speed file transfer that became an industry standard and was eventually purchased by IBM. I had been backed into this decision, graduates. Sometimes life GPS works this way. It backs you into a corner where the only choice is the one that you really wanted to make, but would not have had the courage to make had you other options. If you had seen me in October 2002, no job, no prior invention experience, no prior business experience, and having worked for not one, but two internet startups that had imploded, this proposition was more than risky. To many, it was crazy. But I had the fundamentals. I knew the problem space well, the research literature to inspire the original idea, and how professional software development was done. Aspera went on to be a fantastic success, and we grew the company organically and profitably and sold it 10 years later. I was the CEO. The final story I would like to share mirrors Steve Jobs' story of love and loss and love again. In case you're not familiar with the story, Steve Jobs was fired from his own company and through a path of new innovation and circumstantial development came back to create the iPod, the iPhone, and the Apple as we know it today. 2 years ago, I was driven out of my own company, Aspera, over differences in values with IBM. As you can imagine, as the dust settled, I was extremely sad. Even though I had voluntarily walked into this and knew my parting was inevitable, Aspera was my love. Graduates, arguably, it is in these darkest moments that the life GPS is the most precious. With success stripped away, you have only your purest, most essential motivations to lean on. And vice versa, it is in these times where all obligations are removed that you may be your most free and your most creative. And so, in that summer of 2017, I returned to innovating. I decided to take a course in machine learning, a booming field that interested me. I threw myself into learning that field. After what had become mostly an enterprise CEO job of managing everything, I was finally back to learning anew, and I was alive again. It turned out in this process that I discovered a way to solve certain large-scale content routing problems that had always interested me but were not before technologically feasible. And this all happened at a very opportune time when technology was changing radically. My friend and lifetime colleague and my husband, Shaban, was also going through a renaissance of learning beside me. Over that summer of 2017, He and I learned blockchain technology and studied decentralized systems and metadata, and various factors fell into place, unveiling a bigger and even more interesting problem than the Aspera transport. That is, how to distribute video over the internet in a platform that preserves privacy, authenticity, quality, and at a radically less costly design. This is my new company, Alluvio. Sherban and I worked long hours in an incubator in downtown Berkeley to create early prototypes. These investments started to pay off. Great former colleagues and new colleagues joined us throughout 2018. And just 2 months ago, we introduced this new platform, the Alluvio Content Fabric, and so far, to very great reception. Had I not built on what I most love, none of this would have been possible. So a practical question is, how can you amplify the signal-to-noise ratio, as we like to say in physics, for the life GPS signal? And how do you do it as life gets more complicated? I am by no means an expert, and there is not nearly enough time in this short address, but I will try to highlight what, for me, have been the most significant. At the helm, graduates, is curiosity. However you like to learn, whatever interests you, learning is key to the amplification. You have already shown your commitment to this in your graduation here today, but this is only the beginning. For me, the heart of learning has been universities. For example, I'm currently very active in blockchain at Berkeley. I read papers, attend conferences and meetups, sponsor hackathons, study online, and teach myself new areas. In the last month of pregnancy with my second son, Kieran, when I was too tired to code, I watched online courses from my bed. The internet makes learning so easy and so low cost. No matter where you are in life, learning is key to that amplification. Then, turn what might feel like distractions into fuel. First, health. What can I say? The quality of life you will lead as the result of regular exercise and quality sleep and nutrition is profound. I follow this with the greatest possible discipline. Second, children. I had children very late in life. I had my first son, Aiden, when I was 38, and my second son, Kieran, just a year and a half ago. As the Nobel Prize-winning physicist Marie Curie said, I have frequently been questioned, especially by women, of how I could reconcile family life with a scientific career. Well, it has not been easy. When I had children, I realized that the only way forward for me was to integrate their learning with mine. And I discovered that there's no better way to fuel your own curiosity and motivation to learn than to invest in your children's learning. I marvel at Aiden, my 8-year-old son's developing mind. The work he and I do, whether it is growing our 4-H garden, working Berkeley Math Circle problems, reading his creative writing pieces, studying his Oakland Rebels basketball team strategies, or doing projects for the science fair, awakens my curiosity and literally kicks my rear end up and out to learn more. And finally, service. You graduates are graduating from one of the first land-grant universities ever established, with a mission to transfer the research and knowledge from the university to the community. When I was growing up, it seemed there was not a day my parents, Charles and Deanna Munson, did not remind me of the special service mission of Kansas State and the choice I had to apply the knowledge of that education and other gifts I had been given in service to significantly better the world. At the time, I did not realize the importance of what this ethic of service through the application of knowledge meant. And today, I would like to credit these two incredible people, Chuck and Deanna, for modeling this to me their entire lives. Graduates, surprisingly, the ethic of service is not only the right way to live, it is literally the fuel of grit that will get you through any challenge and to all profound success and happiness. You will have in your career the opportunity to either have your career use you or to use your career to serve the world in whatever way you deem most important. It is when you specifically harness whatever gifts you have, toward what you believe needs to be done to better the world, that you will become truly happy. And it is then that you will become unstoppable. Marie Curie put it this way: we must believe that we are gifted for something, and that thing, at whatever cost, must be attained. Kansas State University, class of 2019, go find your something. Congratulations.
Thank you, Michelle. Amy Button-Rains, President and CEO of K-State Alumni Association, will now bring you greetings from the Alumni Association.
Thank you, Dean Chakrabarty. I'm pleased to be part of this special day and offer congratulations on behalf of the K-State Alumni Association, representing over 280,000 graduates and friends who will be your lifelong K-State family. Today, as you receive your degree, we are excited to celebrate with you and your family. We are also here to welcome you into a new relationship with your alma mater as you begin this new chapter as a K-State graduate. Our mission at the Alumni Association is to lead and inspire lifelong involvement that will benefit Kansas State University and all members of our Wildcat community. I would like to share 3 of the core values that guide us in our mission to help you stay connected with K-State. The first value is link. The Alumni Association provides the lifelong link that alumni depend on to remain connected. You can stay in touch through hundreds of alumni activities held on campus, around the country, and internationally. Another value is tradition. You will likely celebrate a few traditions this weekend as you sing the alma mater or take KSU photos at your favorite spot on campus. You may also have fond memories of doing the Wabash at a K-State sporting event or rubbing the nose of the bronze Wildcat statue at the Alumni Center for good luck on a test or to ensure a Wildcat victory. As the keepers of tradition, we also hope you will have a chance to visit the Alumni Center to experience all of the wonderful traditions kept there, including our newest addition, a stained glass mural designed by 2016 graduate Marcus Gilbert, which pays tribute to the beauty of our state and the K-State campus. The third core value is purple. For K-Staters, it's more than a color. It's a symbol of pride, connection, and family. When you see someone wearing purple, or a K-State class ring, or sporting a K-State license plate, you will feel that sense of family. In recognition of your graduation, the College of Arts and Sciences and the Alumni Association are providing you with a complimentary 1-year membership to the Alumni Association. We hope you will enjoy the membership benefits and continue to be an active member after your first year. K-State alumni are among the most loyal in the nation. In fact, our membership ranks in the top 5 in the nation and number 1 in the Big 12 for the percentage of graduates who are members. That loyalty is shared by generations of K-Staters who have that same passion for K-State that you feel today as you receive your degree from one of the finest universities in the nation. The Alumni Association is also pleased to present you today with an exclusive alumni business card holder. As you go through life and your titles and addresses change, please be sure to keep us updated. We want to make sure you are always connected to your K-State family. Congratulations and go Cats.
It is now my pleasure to invite Dr. Charles Staber, Provost of K-State, to the podium for Conferral of Degrees.
I now have the privilege of conferring your degrees. Will all spring 2019 graduates of the College of Arts and Sciences please stand? By the authority of the people of Kansas and the Kansas Board of Regents, and upon the recommendation of the faculty, I am pleased to confer upon you, the class of 2019, the respective degrees you have earned at Kansas State University. You may now move the tassel to the left side of your mortarboards. Congratulations. Please join me in congratulating all the candidates.
Graduates, please be seated. Will the marshals please bring the graduates to the podium to receive their diplomas? Graduates, please note that you will receive the diploma cover. Your diploma, when you have completed the requirements and paid all parking fines, will be mailed to you.
If you would just come out past the strike.
Yeah?
Just go to Green March on that way to your task is still on.
The Green March?
Yeah, that's fine.
Good.
They tend not to turn as much.
Yeah?
At least that's the plan. So.
Shelby Mariah Hay. Elizabeth Diane Hayes, cum laude. Lacey Jolynn Mann. Connor Daniel Obertop, magna cum laude. Alexis Danielle Atchison. Brett Thomas Balf. Mary Chapman Carnes, magna cum laude. Jerome Lawrence Clopton. Corey Crosby, Jr. Emily Joy Day, magna cum laude. Melissa Leanne Coker Donlin, summa cum laude. Elizabeth Susan Drummond. Andrew Mitchell Franks. Victoria Dawn Garrett. Renjay Tang. Victoria A. Harvey. Thomas Michael Holscher. Catherine Elizabeth Kistler. Andrea Nicole Kepler. Molly Bernice Lenhausen. Long Ho Lee. Fiona Doris Leem, magna cum laude. Rachel Ann Lord, cum laude. Tessie Melagretto. Andrew Clark Merkel. Keegan Daniels Mockabee. Ashley Jane Newfield, magna cum laude. Brandon Michael Pickett. Shannon K. Seville, cum laude. Seaton Avonlea Smart. Miranda Christine Smith. Bailey Stewart. Sean Strand. David Joseph Smead. Acacia Leanne Tolman. Eric Charles Van Buskirk. Joseph C. Vetch. Kenneth Maurice Wilson, Jr. Madeline Jane Wolfe. Following students will receive a Bachelor of Arts degree in biochemistry. Owen Charles Dom. Bailey Alexander Porter. Monica Marie Tillman. Gary Davis. Joshua Ryan Dye, cum laude. Nathan Harold Henderson. Alexandra Lee Jinks. Hayden Elizabeth Cook. Haley Rebecca Krell. Catherine Grace Leonard. Everett James Montevallo. Leah Gail Nelson, magna cum laude. Paige Leanne Pearson. Mikhail Ireland Reed. Holly Renee Townsend. The following students will receive a Bachelor of Science degree in biology. Samantha Lee Adams, cum laude. Mariah Ann Ertz. Benjamin John Albert, magna cum laude. Kyler Michael Bell. Anna Victoria Bourne. Elise Brooke Boxberger. Okay. Katie Irene Burdett. Riley Rianne Berghardt, magna cum laude. William Brooks Crawford. Millie Margaret Dinkle. The following student will have her diploma cover presented by her father, Dr. Ike Ethy, Professor in Management. Amratia Andrea Ethy. Megan Elizabeth Epler. Zachary Todd Favre, cum laude. Jessica Kendall Garrison, cum laude. Julie Harlow. Jason Dean Hermrich. Sarah Marie Hopkins. Catherine S. Huang, summa cum laude. Morgan Nicole Ingram. Hetson Zhao. Elena T. Casa. Olivia Marie Lowell. Haley Marissa Lucas, summa cum laude. Jeremy David Lutz. Olivette Martinez, magna cum laude. Samantha Marie Miller. Matthew Joseph Mindrup, cum laude. Fawez Neem, summa cum laude. Luke Boston Napier. I'm sorry. Okay. Nicole Alejandra Neves. Carlos Antonio Olivas. Ruben James Pondos, summa cum laude. Janelle Lynn Pauley. Troy Joseph Petz. Alexander Joseph Roeder, summa cum laude. Tanner Andrew Sass. Durithi Sigamatsetti. Mary Kinsley Snyder, summa cum laude. Okay. Drake Anthony Van Bueller. Gabriel James Wilson. Kylie Jane Wollard. Isaac Anthony Young. Matthew Todd Zimmerman, cum laude. The following students will receive a Bachelor of Science degree in Fisheries and Wildlife Biology. Jacob Tyler Baldry. Conan Wolf Brennan. Sarah Elizabeth Burwell. Annabelle K. Drecker, magna cum laude. Kristen Laurie Kirsten. Madison Claire Loffing. Herbian Dwayne Peters II. Lauren Nicole Silvernail. Mariel Winterman. Samaya Ashanti Young. The following students will receive a Bachelor of Science degree in microbiology. Jonathan Eliu Altamirano. David Michael Brown, magna cum laude. Marlene Uceras Campos Guerrero. Jamie Lynn Clark. Molly Elizabeth Knapp. Haley Diane Meyer. Jacob Michael Nichols. Corey Ray Ondrashik. Mason Carter Orr. Mackenzie Diane Penny, magna cum laude. Courtney Lynn Langford Sharp, cum laude. Haley Elizabeth Smalley, cum laude. Jennifer Lee Smith. How do you say it? Okay. Amanda Kelly Fate, cum laude. Dana M. Wilmore. Michaela Ann Woods, summa cum laude. The following students will receive a Bachelor of Science degree in chemistry. Jonathan Michael Dahlman. Zachary Harris Johnson. Madison Danelle Long, cum laude. Erin Elizabeth Myers, magna cum laude. Elijah David Stowe, cum laude. McKenna Marie Utek, magna cum laude. Elizabeth Ann Wiesner. The following students will receive a Bachelor of Arts degree in Communications Studies. Bethany Marie Shegwidgen, cum laude. Caleb William Dennis. Emily Marie Francis, magna cum laude. Melody Elizabeth Heron. Melissa Jean Kelly. Dalton Eugene Mitchell, cum laude. Cesar Antonio Rivera. Bailey K. Sweeney. The following students will receive a Bachelor of Science degree in Communication Studies. Audrey Rose Bodette. Morgan Marie Fangman. Marissa Lynn Gardner. Jonah Matthew Haas. Megan Marie Calovan, cum laude. Olivia Ann Matarum. Matthew Mohan. Charles Michael Nelson. Lance Anthony Rossi. Nora Softa. Christopher Chase Stevens. Elijah Carlton Sullivan. Elijah Jacob Walker. George Weber. Emily Darlene Wise. The following students will receive a Bachelor of Arts degree in Economics. Piper Riley Robb. Catherine Marie Schieferek. Brett Strautman, cum laude. Florencia Taboa Everoff. Yin Zhang. The following students will receive a Bachelor of Science degree in Economics. Andrew James Arbuckle. Jose Carlos Casillas Alegre. Scott Julian Cromer. Jacob Thomas Ellis. Daniel Brett Garrison. Janji Zhao. Jacob Michael Hubert, summa cum laude. Brian Iverson. Robert J. Kobza. Dylan Joseph Matthew. Robert J. McAllister. Is it Elson Menezes. Dixon James Ochanda. Ryan Christopher Reed. Taylor Braxton Smith. The following students will receive a Bachelor of Arts degree in English. Sally Elizabeth Carey. Macy Elizabeth Davis, summa cum laude. Micah John Drake. Joyce Rihanna Friedel, magna cum laude. Andrea Madison Gorde, cum laude. Haley Lynn Helms. Sean Patrick Lawless, cum laude. Zachary Michael Lawless, magna cum laude. Andrew Michael Mioni. Jacinta Mioni, summa cum laude. How do you say it? Moy Sona. Connor Joseph Thompson. The following students will receive a Bachelor of Arts degree in Gender, Women, and Sexuality Studies. Laura Ruth Ann Gunderson, magna cum laude. The following students will receive a Bachelor of Arts degree in Geography. Reed Jackson Bowser. The following students will receive a Bachelor of Science degree in Geography. Ricardo Mateo Gonzalez. Benjamin David Hellman. Nathaniel Thomas Ingersoll. Rose Grace Mickey. Pardon? Okay. Margaret B. Smed, magna cum laude. The following students will receive a Bachelor of Science degree in Geology. Nicholas Prescott Goodnear. Alexander Kenneth Kershish. Preston David Miller. James Aaron Serber. The following students will receive a Bachelor of Arts degree in History. Joshua Thomas Ash. Antoinette Dorothy Basasso, cum laude. Stephen Anthony Happy. Peyton Thomas Harms. Eric Joseph Nagel. Zachary Ty Ruff. Catherine Lee Sundgren, magna cum laude. Jeremiah Webster. Joseph Wild. The following students will receive a Bachelor of Science degree in History. Kyle Robert Curtis. Jared Edward Kilbreth. James Dalton Burton. Alexander Lane Riggins. The following students will receive a Bachelor of Arts degree in Humanities. Allison Joy Clothier. Carolyn Grace Nichols. The following students will receive a Bachelor of Arts degree in Mass Communications. Carlos Santiago Amorilla Gonzalez, magna cum laude. Rebecca Lynn Branch. Tori Austin Burkhart, magna cum laude. Gibson James Combs. Adam David Condry. Gabriella Marie Debley. Catalina Naomi Donnelly Vaquez. Paige Lee Engel, cum laude. Rafael Garcia Jr., summa cum laude. Alyssa Danielle Greenwood, cum laude. Carson Nicole Gunnigal. Stephanie Wendling Hamilton, magna cum laude. Henry Lewis Hollingsworth IV. Lakin Nafan Horton. Michaela Shante Kitchen. Lexi Christina Leitner, cum laude. Sorry. Carolina Lewis. This one I have. Mallory Marie Lopez. Alexandra Loya. Autumn Marie Mock. Ashley Marie Odes. Jessica Dawn Robbins. Kenneth Rome. Nicole Sanchez, cum laude. Emily Ann Starkey. Dallas Edward Ungebuehler. Etong Tracy Zhu. Morgan Jean Zupan. The following students will receive a Bachelor of Science degree in Mass Communication. Deandra Danae Allen. Samuel Thomas Anderson. Amber Ruth Bacon. Austin Raymond Becker. Devin Taylor Britkov, cum laude. Jack David Michael Bresser. Brady Lee Budke. Bridget Joe Burr. Is it Mike? Micaiah Lachey Carroll. Emma Lorraine Carter. Deontay Lamarcus Chiselman. Georgie Elizabeth Cox. Bailey Marilyn Driver. Callie Ann Fisher. Grant Hunter Flanders. Madeline Taylor Gazda. Ellie Len Gerber. Hannah Sujari Greer, cum laude. Gannon Ray Hingston. Natalie Colleen Jager. Benjamin B. Johnson. Haley Morgan Johnston. Connor Adair Kurth. Alyssa Nicole Kirkland. Okay. Zachary Allen Cratterville. Sydney Ann Kraus. Anna Josephina Landsberg. Marissa Tivolian Lang, cum laude. Isabel Ann Lobby, summa cum laude. Tanner Scott Lichtai. Dylan Dean Lears. Sophia Lynn Lair. Kennedy Cher McKernan. Gabriella Ann Meads. Colby A. Miller. Justin Navrat. Lauren Eileen Phillips. Hannah Marguerite Phipps, cum laude. Alyssa Marie Reese. Matthew Ronchuk. Emma Lene Schiffelbein. Annalise Siggers. Derek Raymond Simmons. Brianne Tony Smith. Zebediah Wiley. Jackson Lee Stevens. Molly Taylor Thomas. Matthew Thomas Vos. Kendra Nicole Wente, summa cum laude. Ella Marie Wengert. Isabel Williams. Natalie Lauren Wolf. Well, okay. The following student will receive a Bachelor of Arts degree in Life Sciences.
Raquel Joy Anderson.
The following students will receive a Bachelor of Science degree in Life Sciences. Ellie Robert Berner. Julian Elizabeth Blackhall. Micah James Bauma. Sophia Lynn Breadlove, cum laude. Jackson Dale Clements. Emily Ann Cox. Bernadette Malaya Crawford. Colin Allen Cudney. Rachel Ann Cunningham. Ravneet Singh Dhillon. Zachary Cale Donnelly, cum laude. Emily Elizabeth Ebert, magna cum laude. Ashlyn Nicole Fisher. Kane Henrik Fredrickson. Bristol L. Friesian. Lauren Elizabeth Gay, cum laude. Sarah Marie Hogg. Cheyenne Edna Helms. Selba K. Hill. Nathan Wade Hodeshow. Amanda Marie Idle. Adele. Elizabeth Reed Johnson. Jacqueline Rose Jones. Troy Michael Juneman. Alexandra Nicole Keller. Lauren Elizabeth Lambrecht. Alexandra Nicole Lashley, cum laude. Sydney Aaron Lutz. Sydney Mai Masters, magna cum laude. Madeline Margaret McCormick, summa cum laude. Nicholas Kenneth Nordstrom, cum laude. Cheyenne Nicole Ortner, magna cum laude. Adelina Perel. Paige Nicole Peoples. Erin Nicole Peters. Samuel Joseph Preston. Hunter Dirk Price. Royce Samuel Ramsey. Lakeith Ranawira. Haley Elizabeth Record. Megan Ruth Roars, cum laude. Catherine Elaine Rosa, summa cum laude. Abigail Noel Rouse. Mira Catherine Scavuzza. Isabel Schmidt. Mariah Nicole Stringfeld. Sarah Christine Sullivan. Luan Tu Tang. Lakin Paige Tedrow, magna cum laude. Sydney Marie Valling, cum laude. Sarah Elise Vandervoort, magna cum laude. Samantha Jo Volkman. Jessica Renee Wallace. Ramona Elaine Weber. Brooke Margaret Wetta, summa cum laude. Rachel Elizabeth White. Ethan Riley Woodcock, summa cum laude. Paraima Paula Yanez.
I am. It's going to be great. Yeah. Good. Excellent. Excellent. The following students will receive a Bachelor of Science degree in Mathematics. Kennedy Ann Bowers, magna cum laude. Robert William Durrett. Cade Allen Graber, summa cum laude. Dane Ald Howe. Teresa Leslier, magna cum laude. Jordan Patrick Martin, summa cum laude. Samantha Marie McPhail, magna cum laude. Kayla Marie Mesh, summa cum laude. John Michael O'Brien, summa cum laude. Ojas Pathak. Joshua Lee Patterson, cum laude. Antonio Subasic. The following student will receive a Bachelor of Science degree in Clinical Laboratory Science. Mackenzie Renee Long. The following student will receive a Bachelor of Arts degree in Modern Languages. Larissa Leah Esther, summa cum laude. Tricia Lynn Gomel. Rebecca Ann Hall. Emma Christine Irvine, magna cum laude. Lillian Kathleen King Hagen, cum laude. Dylan Tyler McCullough. Abino Tejera. Victoria Saunders Thomas, cum laude. William Alexander Vonderschmidt. Yapao Yu, cum laude. Abby Elizabeth Zachary. The following students will receive a Bachelor of Music degree in Applied Music. Joshua Levi Arnoldy. Nicole Renee Bueller. Adam Christopher Leekner, summa cum laude. Tyler Elijah Lee. Spencer Eli McIntyre, magna cum laude. Karis Elise McMurtry. The following student will have her diploma cover presented by her father, Dr. Ernie Minton, Interim Dean of the College of Agriculture. Christina Maria Minton. Lucero David Pundia, cum laude. Hunter Nixon Sprong. Grace Margaret Volker, summa cum laude. The following students will receive a Bachelor of Music Education. Jessica Marie Brummel, magna cum laude. Dakota Austin Kavanaugh. Wesley Allen Crow. Vanessa Eden Disdalon. Bailey Carol Eisenbraun. Abigail Ruth Giles. Shelby Ray Green. Billy Ira Andrew Hatfield. Morgan Elizabeth Higgins, summa cum laude. Abigail Marie Huck. Alexander Morgan Meek, cum laude. Amy Ichira Moore. Garrett Levi Prawl, magna cum laude. Stephen Kyle Robinson, cum laude. Michelle Hope Rooney. Matthew Lewis Scott. Eric James Sherman. Preston Wayne Thomas. Trace Logan Woods. Jacob Alexander Wright. Jacob Jared Roble. The following students will receive a Bachelor of Arts degree in theater. Kristen Irene Cruz. Sarah Elizabeth Hutchinson. Kristen M. Mills, summa cum laude. Hunter Kobe Nelson, summa cum laude. William Thomas Averna. Aaron Jacob Rojas. The following students will receive a Bachelor of Science degree in philosophy. Emily Ann DeTavo, magna cum laude. Braden Michael Johnson, summa cum laude. Ashley Louise McCall, cum laude. Evan Walker Rose, magna cum laude. Sam Cahill Smith. The following students will receive a Bachelor of Arts degree in philosophy. Samuel Haynes Leba. Haley Nicole McKee. Ricky James Baumert. Morgan Elizabeth Mock. Cole Harrison Hamo Zarukian. Jihao John. The following students will receive a Bachelor of Science degree in physics. Peyton Starr Barton, summa cum laude. Axel Manuel Campos. Jeremiah George Neff Clark, cum laude. Reed Marshall Erdwine, summa cum laude. Thomas Donald Launier, magna cum laude. Kenneth O'Neill McLeod. Jacob Calvin Payton. Parker Allen Stoops. Shane Wise, summa cum laude. The following students will receive a Bachelor of Arts degree in political science. Lane Morgan Coberly. Dylan Lee Ewers. Ian Bradley Ferguson. Colin Gerald Harrison. William Kyler Jackson. Jamie Reed Jarvis. Caleb Snyder. Victoria Ann Sparkman. Adam Joseph Wilkerson, magna cum laude. The following students will receive a Bachelor of Science degree in political science. Tyler Michael Bowen. Kayla Lynn Clark. Carolyn Grace Fuss. Zachary Edward Gallion. Ethan Christopher Gansel. Caleb Wayne Gertzen. Krista Nicole Haddock. Avery Robert James. Ryan David Lahman. Jesse Brandt Porter. Mark James McDermott, cum laude. Stephanie Michelle McGivern, cum laude. Miranda Jo Moore, summa cum laude. Logan Bradley Molds. Jesse Alexander Rupiza. Marco Antonio Saucedo. The following students will receive a Bachelor of Arts degree in psychology. Dara Ahmed El Sarawi, cum laude. Elizabeth J. Gregory. Jordan Catherine Johnston, magna cum laude. Erin Nicole Newkirk, magna cum laude. Shailene Sue Reese, cum laude. Maria Guadalupe Vieira Ortiz. The following students will receive a Bachelor of Science degree in psychology. Erica Lee Alfano. Blake Michael Atkinson. Carson Ree Borger. Taylor Melissa Beshore, cum laude. Amanda Catherine Denise Bechtold. Elizabeth Ann Beers. Peyton Lee Bowers. Kama Rose Brand. Hannah Elise Brock, summa cum laude. Taylor Mackenzie Cowell, cum laude. Rebecca Marie Drake, cum laude. Michaela Marie Feeney. Landon James Fossum. Christian Constantine Foster. Skylar Brittany Gilbert. Savannah Leanne Good Turney. Allison Elaine Griffin, summa cum laude. Nicole Elizabeth Harding, cum laude. Dylan Preston Hedrick. Chase Catherine Hubler. Christopher Allen Hullaby. Sydney Allison Janae Huxman, summa cum laude. Sophia Abigail Jimenez Omana. Leah Shelley Kloss. Alyssa Marie Zortman Kaler. Derek John Kraft. Sophia Gayla Lara. Mallory Joan Line, summa cum laude. Nina Kiolani Marshall, cum laude. Marissa Lee Muto. Jacob Paul Pengra. Hayden Lee Penner. Alexa C. Pritchard. Hannah Elizabeth Queasy. Madison Nicole Shaler, summa cum laude. Kennedy Ann Schmidt, magna cum laude. Dylan Christopher Schultz. Kelsey Lynn Shanahan. Bailey Smith. Megan Smith. Shaylin Marie Southards. Willow Marie Willingham. Jaylee Danae York, cum laude. The following students will receive a Bachelor of Arts degree in Social Sciences. Carolina Costamanga. Benjamin Robert Farmer. Alexandra Lorton Jones. Rizlan Sibba. The following students will receive a Bachelor of Science degree in Social Sciences. Brandon Christopher Alexander. Molly Diane Banwart, cum laude. Kylie Nicole Bates. Connor Bees. Shelby Lynn Benton. Kayla Ann Bolts. Tyler Cole Burns. Randy S. Carter Jr. Josu Raimundo Chacon Andrade. Jenna Lynn Cleveland. Connor Nicole Davis. Sarah Nicole Dennis. Kenneth Gregory Deshawn III. Stephen Markle Ellis. John Tyler Evans. Taylor Nicole Flemons. Yuna Fujihara. Brandy Leah Gentry. Rodney Christopher Hardaway. Samuel Evan Hoffman. Darian Danielle Izetta. Amanda Lee Cressman. David Randall Lagoria Jr. Leah Ann McFarthing. Benjamin James Meek. Hannah Elizabeth Morales. Drew Landon Neubauer. Craig Allen Poe. Max Dean Ramsey. Michael Anthony Rodriguez. Kevin William Strain. Nicholas Guy Wagner. Samuel Jacob Wiener. Samuel Wickersham. Ronnie Ray Wilcox. The following students will receive a Bachelor of Arts degree in Sociology. Lottie Crystal Leigh Horton. Max Darren Stevens, summa cum laude. Dennis Augusta Borer. Abigail Lynn Brooks. Alex Charge Brzezowski. Denisa Cosmina Butas. Aaron Michael Davis. Frances Marie Dennis. Jacob Dean Dusenbury. Cynthia Key Ferguson. Wesley Neal Gilmore. Eric Edward Hageman. Sarah Nicole Haggerty. Kay Ishihara. Kaylee Tiana Jones. Ryan Lloyd Kaus. Amy Lynn Ketchum Wallace. Leighton Schroeder Ledig. Mitchell John May. Brooke Alexandra Munch. Peter Charles Paris Jr. Destiny Jade Parkhurst. Bo Larry Richardson. Cassidy Lynn Richardson. Jylynn Janet Riceley. I'm going to just do this. They don't all fall down. Dominic Tyler Sandidge Lacey. Matthew John Scanlon. Austin Thomas Shute. Jack A. Seibenbergen. Parker Gray Suka. Zach Stewart. Sydney Marie Story. Deja Nicole Taylor. Kimberly Zamora. The following students will receive a Bachelor of Arts degree in Anthropology. Tiffany Nicole Bowers. Daniel Scott Jackson. Kaylee Ann Kearns. Valerie Galura Mays. Amanda Nicole Ripple. Maddie Mae Vandal, cum laude. The following students will receive a Bachelor of Science degree in Anthropology. Anna Coleman. Sydney Janessa DeLong. Colin Ross Gentry. Abigail Mariah Graham. Anna Rachel Gregory. Jacob Alexander Honshu, summa cum laude. Artemis Rain King. Kyle John Lessig. Tiara Marie Moore. Haley Nicole Reinard. Madison Nicole Victor. Jackie Allison Ware, cum laude. The following students will receive a Bachelor of Arts degree in Social Work. Rachel Jean Bezick. Dustin Jacob Klinkenbeard. Michaela Raylyn Gay. Ricardo Roman. Madeline Fitch Ruse, cum laude. Kendra Pearl Truitt. Allison Taylor Yancey. The following students will receive a Bachelor of Science degree in Social Work. Taylor Catherine Barker. Anne Marie Bartolak. Ariel Christina Bach. Heather Lynn Braden. Dayanara Jeanette May Carter. Callie Ann Charbonneau. Julie Danielle Demo, summa cum laude. Maggie Lynn Dahl. Taylor Denise Feldkamp, cum laude. Jonte Denise Fontenot. Alyssa Morgan Fry. Hannah Marie Gill, cum laude. Cheryl M. Gomez, summa cum laude. Sarin Rose Graham. Paige Marie Gumpenberger. Lindsay Nicole Huddleston. Erin Elise Hudson. Margaret Mary Jacobs, magna cum laude. Matthias Aaron Jenkins. Hannah Elise Lowry. Madison Elizabeth Pascal, magna cum laude. Krista V. Primers. Rebecca Renee Rostad. Anthony Renteria. Allison Elizabeth Rice. Lauren Elizabeth Spiegel. Kayla Marie Stone, cum laude. Taylor Ann Stoll. Carly Marie Super. Michelle Ann Vishnevsky, magna cum laude. Megan Ann Wright. Shannon Ruth Yeomans. Bachelor of Science degree in Statistics, Daniel Ephraim Rogers. Reed Alexander Simpson. Angel Azarias Zalanzi. The following students receive a Bachelor of Science degree in Statistics and Data Sciences. Tyler James Bastian. Andrea Garcia, summa cum laude. Taylor Charles Croker. And Ryan Edward Lawless.
With the awarding of the last diploma, I want to thank the members of the platform party and members of the staff in the Dean's office who have made this ceremony possible. Finally, I wish to thank our marshals, Dr. Greg Paul, Dr. Michael Crisco, Dr. Chuck Martin, and Dr. Arnold Temme, as well as our organist professor, David Pickering. Give them a hand. The heart and soul of any institute of higher education is the faculty. I would like to ask all faculty present here to stand. Please join me in recognizing their contributions to this day. Will the faculty please be seated? Now I would like the graduates to join us in recognizing another group of people who have contributed much and perhaps received little recognition. Would the parents, spouses, family, and friends of the graduates please stand and be recognized? To conclude our ceremony, we invite our graduates to join in the singing of the K-State alma mater, this time as alumni. If you need any help, it says here that the words will appear on the screen. But I have a feeling you already know it very well. While Grace Volker returns to the podium, a couple of reminders. First, after we finish singing, we ask that our audience please remain seated until the platform party has recessed, and that our new graduates please wait until the marshals direct your row to rise. Faculty may exit through the tunnel. We would appreciate it if graduates and family could greet each other in the upper concourse near the ticket booths. The College of Education is scheduled to begin their commencement ceremony at 11, and we are leaving a lot of time for that, so thanks to everyone. It is time to go forth and celebrate your graduation and at the same time, change the world. Be proud of your accomplishment at K-State, and once again, congratulations. With that, I will turn it over to Grace.